All right, hello and welcome back. I know it's been a minute, but here we are at the top of 2025, and I wanted to come back with a little bit different of a video. Instead of just doing a top 10, I'm going to be ranking every single album that I listened to in 2024 into a tier list. So we're just going to do the normal tier list style. We got S. And we're just going to start at the bottom. F tier. Not too many locally. I thought that the majority of the albums across this year were good at least. But these ones at the bottom are the ones that I will not be coming back to unless it's for like a review or something. But yeah, these are just the worst of the worst ones. And so in the F tier, we have Eternal Take 2 by Lil Uzi Vert, Viceroy by Snot, Vultures 2 by Kanye and Ty Dolla $ign, F1 Trillion by Post Malone, that one hurts, Lifestyle by Yeet, Insano by Kid Cudi, that one also hurts, Y2K by Ice Spice, and Hood Poet by Polo G. Now, a couple of these albums are in here because they are just really freaking bad, like Eternal Take 2, like Vultures, like Y2K. Those ones are just they're just bad. They have like little redeeming qualities about them. They are extremely lackluster with their creativity. There just really isn't much to get from those albums. A couple of the other ones like Viceroy, like Insano and Hood Poet, while they definitely were lacking creativity, they are massively bloated. It's a lot of sounds that we've heard before. It's just rehashings of old stuff. But yeah, and then F1 Trillion is just talk about void of creativity. This is in here. I know a lot of people obviously loved it, like Post Malone going into this country. I think that this has taken away pretty much all of his actual creativeness. He is just going for what is popular, and that's it. It's kind of just like him, chasing the fame more and more. So yeah, let's move on to the D tier. D is going to be All Is Yellow, Vultures 1, You Made Me a Star, Eternal Sunshine, Where I've Been Isn't Where I'm Going, One of One, Sincere, The Alexander Technique, Cowboy Carter, I know it's a hot take, and Tyla self-titled. These in here, these are passing albums, you could say, but still, obviously, creativity is not at an all-time high here, or they're massively bloated. Like Cowboy Carter, while I think that it has a couple of really good standout tracks, I do feel like for Beyonce taking this venture into a whole other genre, she went pretty basic, the very mainstream route. I was very disappointed to see, as I thought she was very unique and made a very personable and personal dance album with Renaissance. Cowboy Carter just felt as basic as country could go, so that was really disappointing. The Alexander Technique and Sincere and One of One just were unfortunately too long, even though the Alexander Technique isn't super long. The other ones are they're long, they're just bloated, they don't feel like there's anything really new to experience. Where I've Been Isn't Where I'm Going is again the same thing as Cowboy Carter, where Shabuzi, who I was a massive fan of, especially from his 2022 album, Cowboys Live Forever, Outlaws Never Die, this is him just going as basic can be with this, and it was just extremely disappointing. Yeah, again, the Tyla album, You Made Me a Star by Four Bats, and All Is Yellow were good, fair attempts, but unfortunately just kind of fell flat. Little one note across pretty much all of them, and Vultures 1 obviously is just Kanye's downfall, like the start of it. And for the C tier, we have Mixtape Pluto by Future, Bando Stone and the Brave New World, and Ada Vista by Childish Gambino, Megan by Megan Thee Stallion, Better Me Than You by Big Sean, The Death of Slim Shady by Eminem, Woof by Amir Van, Faith of a Mustard Seed by Mustard, Bad Cameo by James Blake and Lil Yachty, Michael and the Mighty Midnight Revival by Killer Mike, 14 Minutes by Dominic Fike, Daryl by ASAP Ferg, Soul Burger by Ab-Soul, Might Delete Later by J. Cole, Still Praying by Westside Gunn, Maybe a Nirvana by Smino, that one hurts, and What's Wrong with New York from The Dare, Samurai by Lupe Fiasco, The Party Never Dies by Juice WRLD, Requiem by Keshi, and Volume 2 from Novulent. A lot of these ones, I would say they're good albums. They just, again, they fall a little short of the mark, and some of them are a little bloated, not super well thought out. For example, I think that The Dare, when releasing a couple of his singles, leading up to, you had Girls and Perfume, which were huge hits, but unfortunately he just couldn't deliver on a full album experience. Probably should have spent more time on the cutting room floor, really working on his craft and making sure that the whole album was going to live up to the hype that he was building. Big Sean, while I did really enjoy Detroit 2, his last full-length album, I thought this one just felt a little too long. I think that he's got to do better with trimming the fat on a couple of these, even though I think almost all the songs are good, if not great. It's just dude, we don't want to listen to a 20-song album every time. You can have it be 10 to 14. That would be fine. Obviously, I did a review on the Slim Shady LP. Massively bloated, not super well thought out with the execution on that. Bando Stone, same thing as well. While Childish Gambino is always super ambitious, just bloated. A lot of the stuff in there is just not necessary, and some of the stuff is kind of just bad. Wolf by Mir Van, just really one note, feels pretty similar across the entire thing, nothing too crazy. Bad Cameo, I was super excited for, came out of nowhere, but unfortunately just for two massively creative people in today's art, it's kind of feels, again, very one note. It is a fun listen, I do really enjoy it, but I was hoping for more. Killer Mike, he's only here because this is essentially just a deluxe version of his last full-length album, Michael. It's cool, and I like the different versions of songs that were on the first edition, but it's not enough for it to, boost it all the way to the top, and especially the way he changes some of the songs. I just preferred the way they were on Michael. 14 Minutes by Dominic Fike is here because it's just okay. Like the title suggests, it's only 14 minutes long, so it's not super fleshed out as, I'm sure a lot of people would have preferred. But, it's decent for what it is. Daryl by A$AP Ferg, I was surprised. Honestly, there was as many good cuts in this project as there was. Unfortunately, not enough to bring it up to the B tier, but still, I enjoyed quite a bit of this project. Soul Burger by Ab-Soul, I thought was just okay. I definitely think that Herbert was a lot better, but maybe I just need to spend more time with it because I saw a lot of people who were just giving this a ton of praise and absolutely loving it. Might Delete Later and Still Praying and Mixtape Pluto, I felt like we're very just kind of in between albums for these artists, for J. Cole, Westside Gunn, and Future. While they have released better projects more recently, these kind of just felt like putting this here till we get to the next one. Even though Future, I know, released 3 albums in 2024, it still kind of felt that way, even though it had some massive highs on the project. The biggest one, as I said, that hurt to put here was Smino's album, Maybe a Nirvana. His 2023 album, Love for Rent, was one of my favorites ever. It's just one of my favorite albums since it has come out, and I had very high expectations, but apparently this was basically supposed to be, it was originally just an EP that was going to come out before Love for Rent as sort of just, building hype for it, but it wasn't able to come out in time, and so he just put it out now as sort of like an in-betweener till his next project. So with those eyes, on it, in that sort of vision, I get it, but still, like I said, I had high expectations, and I know a lot of people did. Love for Rent, a lot of people really loved and saw the genius in it, and this just unfortunately fell a little short. We have the B tier next. We're going to start with Glimmer of God by Gene Dawson, Timeless, Ultra 85, Micah's Laundry, Romance and Pandemonium, Almighty So Too, We Still Don't Trust You, Worldwide Whack, Slant Face Killa, Infinite Desires, Dear Diary, You Only Die Once, Dead Ends and Diversions, I don't know how to say this one, Petricor, Everybody Can't Go, American Dream, A Dream Is All We Know, The Changing of the Trees, and Rat Taxi. A lot of for the B tier were albums that I thought were really great, but probably were just lacking in a couple of territories, either a couple of bloated songs that could have been cut from the track list. Take, for example, We Still Don't Trust You, or I know it's a pretty short album, but Glimmer of God, or for Timeless. But, it still applies that, they just had a little bit of bloat. Not that the bloated songs are bad, but honestly, if they trimmed it down maybe a couple of songs, it would have been moved up to the A or even to the S tier. Like Glimmer of God, I thought that the second track, and I think it might be the fifth track, I'm forgetting their names, but there's just a couple songs on there that just bring the album as a whole down, makes it feel very messy and not as much like a cohesive listening experience. But yeah, all of these have fantastic production. There's really, obviously it's, a case-by-case bias with each of the LPs on here. But yeah, these are all fantastic albums that I would highly recommend. At this point, from B and up, I would consider these all great albums. I think that they are maybe not some of the best that these artists have ever released. Like Freddie Gibbs, You Only Die Once is definitely, in my opinion, not the best thing he's ever put out. But I would still say this is a great album, and it is worth listening to. Dead Ends and Diversions from Riley Ritchie, while these are all considered leftovers, I would still tell people, you should definitely listen to this. For leftovers, these are insanely good, and they have a lot of personality, and the production is fantastic, and these are some of his catchiest hooks ever. Same thing for Slant Face Killa. These are all leftovers from Conway the Machine, but I would still say these are worth checking out. They're super fun. They're not songs that you need to go in and study the lyrics for all of them, but they're still worth revisiting. Infinite Desires from Donny Benet, super fun. Again, I think that his last album is my personal favorite of his, but this one is really damn good and is super fun. Yeah, so that is it for B. And now for the first section of the big hitters, we have the A tier. And starting off in A, we have The Crossroads by Corday, Imaginal Disc by Magdalena Bay, The Hunger Era by D2X, Heartstone Psycho by Don Toliver, Brat by Charlie XCX, Dark Times by Vince Staples, Alligator Bites Never Heal by Doechii, Hit Me Hard and Soft by Billie Eilish, 2093 by Yeat, and King of the Mischievous South Volume 2 by Denzel Curry. I know, first off, Brat, I know a lot of people, it's in their S tier. It's their number one album of the year. It's, it's in their top 5 of 2024, whatever. Well, I did think it was great, as I did one of my quick reviews. Check out that series, my New Day, New Review series. I talked about Brat, and I definitely still think that it had a little bit of blow. A couple songs I would have cut off there, or Charlie could have at least refined. It was a great album. It was definitely a great listen. Nothing super groundbreaking for the pop or hyper pop scene, but just basically something that was done extremely well and polished really nicely. The Crossroads by Corday honestly could have probably made it into the S tier if it came out earlier in the year, because this is a very end of 2024 release, and it's one I've just been listening to just about once a week at least, if not more. It's absolutely fantastic. Corday has his best production period on here, his best songwriting period, and I would definitely say that this, to me, rivals his debut album, The Lost Boy. I know a lot of people hold that to an extremely high standard, but I think that The Crossroads definitely has that comparison and can hold its own to that. The features are insane and just killer on there. There isn't a single bad one. Even Juicy J, who kind of takes away from the lyrical aspect a bit, I still think he held his own on his track. The Kanye feature on No Bad News is crazy. I couldn't believe that we got a good Kanye feature in 2024 after the schlock and shit that he delivered the same year. That was insane. The Hunger Era by D2X. He is a rapper who I found through the YouTube channel at the NFR podcast, and I know they are good friends with him, or at least are good acquaintances with him. And through them, I decided to check him out. And this project is him kind of ditching the sort of boom bap, soul, jazz sampled raps that he's usually doing. And it's not that these are all like trap instrumentations, but they're much more high energy, high voltage. He really is putting his personality into this, and I love the superhero theme that is throughout this whole thing. I believe that he has the same artist who did his cover art, who did all of the what do you call it, the artist drawings that Metro Boomin did for Heroes and Villains. And just this album, it just feels like that. It feels like a comic book, and it's super fun, and his lyrics are still on point for this, even though this is not one of his concept records. King of the Mischievous South, I thought was a super fun listen, and even again, while it is not Denzel's most really locked in albums in terms of lyrics, just the production is so well done, all the features are great, and even the full edition of this project that he put out after this one towards the end of the year was great, with the couple extra songs that he did. 2093, as I did a full review, I never would have thought to say that a Yeet album would be even close to a top 20 album of the year for me ever. But yeah, 2093, I love the experimentation. This just sounds like a cyberpunk album. It deserves to be in that movie or in a Blade Runner movie. That's what this whole album sounds like. And yeah, it's just absolutely crazy. It's just super fun, and he just really tuned in himself for this project. Magdalena Bay, honestly, they could have had Imaginal Disc in the S tier if I probably had just given it more listens, but while it was a great, amazing album, there were just a couple other ones that I just was drawn to a little bit more. Maybe within the future it'll ramp up even more, and then in retrospect I'll be like, why didn't I put that in my top 10? But for now, that's why it's here. I do recognize how great of a project it is, but to me, there were just other albums that I enjoyed a little bit more. That's simply it. That's basically what the A tier is. It's just, I thought all of these were absolutely amazing, and the artists were at their pinnacle of creativity, but there was just personally albums that I enjoyed a little bit more. And now we have the S tier. And while I did not go through and put all 78 albums that I ranked in order of my favorite to least favorite, the S tier is the only one where I did do that, and these are my straight top 10 albums of the year. These are the ones I think are the best of the best. These are all perfect, if not near perfect albums, and they go like this. At number 10, we have Russell Boring from Joba. At 9, we have Why Laud by No Worries, Anderson .Paak and Knowledge. At number 8, we have No Hands by Joey Valence and Bray. At 7, we have Charm by Claro. At number 6, we have This Is How Tomorrow Moves by Bia Badubi. At number 5, it is We Don't Trust You. At number 4, it is I Lay Down My Life For You by JPEG Mafia. At number 3, it is Blue Lips by Schoolboy Q. At number 2, Scrapyard by Quadeca. And number 1 is GNX by Kendrick Lamar. Now, starting off at the top spot, GNX by Kendrick Lamar. This is an end-of-the-year release, and I really struggled with where I was going to put this in my top 10. I knew immediately it was going to be in the top 10 because, I think anybody who listens to it understands there's really no explanation I need to give for it. But it just, while evaluating it, it was like the features all killed. There wasn't a single bad feature. All of the production was amazing on this. Even the title track GNX. I don't care what anybody says. If you don't like that, it just means you don't listen to enough like true West Coast hip hop, where the beats are slightly off kilter and the flows aren't always on beat, and it's just insane. I think that every single production on here is great. All the features are great, and even the writing, while it is not one of Kendrick's super lyrical onslaughts or massive concept records, he still manages to pack this project full of worthwhile content that you can dive into and read into, and I think that's what just makes this album so fantastic. Scrapyard by Quedeca, again, shows just his greatness just growing and growing. And these are, as he labeled it, Scrapyard, these are scrap songs that just couldn't make it onto any album. Either they were leftovers from his past couple projects or from his upcoming one and they just couldn't fit, or songs that he just made in between that just didn't go with anything. And yet he put them together and it sounds like one full-fledged album, and most artists couldn't make this type of project and something this good for an actual mainstay album, and yet this is an in-betweener for him, and it's just that good. Every single song on here, the production that he does himself, which is absolutely insane, is all like some of the best he's ever had. His vocal performances, everything is just, it's crazy how great it is. Same thing for Blue Lips. This is maybe, in my opinion, I'd have to do a real listen do of every single one of his albums, but this might be my favorite Schoolboy Q album. This is definitely my favorite JPEG Mafia album. I have enjoyed his stuff, never have been like massive fan, but something about this album, the samples that he did, just the overall production, his own vocal performances, and his rapping technically, and his ability on here is just crazy. And I fell in love with this. Just every song on here is worthwhile, and there is like no fat to be trimmed on this entire project. I did my reviews on Bia Badoobie. I did a New Day New Review video on that, so you can check that out. And I did a short form review on this channel of Charm. Yeah, these are fantastic albums. No Hands by Joey Valence and Bray. This I listened to maybe about halfway through the year, and just as the year went on, I fell more and more in love with this. These guys are like the new age Beastie Boys, which I'm sure they're probably getting sick and tired of hearing, but like that's the best thing to compare them to. They're these two nerdy guys who just put their personality fully on blast, and this is a 30-minute album, and from front to back, it is extremely fun. Not a single minute wasted, and just totally worthwhile. I did do a review on Wylod, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that one again, but it is a fantastic album. Every time Anderson .Paak releases something, it is a contender for a top 10 album of the year, if not, top 5, although, like I said, some I just preferred more this year. But yeah, everything he does is just crazy, and it is just the best shit to be released in the modern day of music. And the last thing to just break the top 10 is Russell Boring by Joba. He is from Brockhampton fame, if you are unfamiliar, and I think that he totally deserves more recognition for this. This is my favorite album to be released from any of the Brockhampton members, like their solo discography, which is kind of just starting for the most part this year. Kevin Abstract did release, I believe it was last year, 2023, his first solo debut album since the band broke up. But yeah, of the four members who have released albums, this one is my favorite. It's just so different, so left field. I feel like it's very Elton John inspired, so if you're a fan of his music, I would definitely recommend checking this out. And yeah, it's like a retro blast. It's super fun, and I think that just I know he is like he went to school and is professionally trained vocalist, but yeah, his vocals on here are just so soothing and fit so well to the production, and I cannot recommend this enough. I really wish that it got more love, because unfortunately I think that this is, of the 4 solo albums since Rock Antennas broke up, this is of the two that have gotten the least recognition, which is such a shame. But yeah, that is my ranking for all 78 albums that I listened to in 2024. I might do another video where I talk about every single artist I listened to in 2024. But yeah, these are the new releases. I hope you enjoyed. If you agree with my takes or you disagree, let me know and what you would change in this tier list. I'll put it up here so you can see the final rankings in full of my tier list. But yeah, anyways, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Check out my New Day, New Review series on basically any other social media, on YouTube Shorts, where you're watching this, on Instagram and TikTok, if that stays. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye now.